Yeah, and we are live. I am live, and this is an experiment. We'll see how it goes. But I always talk to Christian Finnegan and Maura Quint separately, and we tape interviews. I said, let's just see what happens if we go live. They're both really nervous to be here, but I'm glad they are here, and I'm glad they are together for the first time. Maura Quint, Christian Finnegan, we are live to go over the week's stories. And sometimes people just throw you on a panel you've never met before. That's usually the case. But apparently, Christian, you guys have met, but apparently Maura doesn't remember it. Wow.
It meant a lot to me. I don't know.
You know what? Pete said, have you guys met? And I'm like, I'm sure we have, but I blocked out a lot of my past, okay? That just fell during a time that I don't want to remember anything. And you just happen to be part of it. You weren't the only reason, though. Just one of the reasons.
Just top 5.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
I feel like I'm cheating on Ophira, honestly, is how this feels. It feels, honestly, it doesn't feel like that. It feels like Ophira died and I'm just getting back out there for the first time.
I never even thought of that.
Like a Sleepless in Seattle kind of situation.
I never even thought of that. We often were the trio, and we will certainly continue to do that. I just really.
The important thing is that you only ever have one woman. That's the important thing.
Exactly.
Never more than that.
No. What are we, Mormon here? No.
Yeah, that's fair.
We'll one of you won't be able to do it at some point and whenever, but we're trying it today to go through this week in news. And you guys, when I talk to you, and people tell me this all the time listening to you, they love your perspective. They love the way that you are able to articulate and frame situations in the news and in life which both of you glitched are really good at, and also very, very unique, original, moral, funny, and thoughtful. So given all that, I thought these would be great topics to go through this week. And let's start with, I'll save the healthcare kid assassin for last, because I know we're going to spend a lot of time on that probably. But can we just do a little bit drone talk? Are you concerned about all the drones over New Jersey? How closely have you paid attention to this story, Maura? Do you have any drones out there in Pennsylvania? Have you ever flown a drone?
No, and that is actually my biggest confusion. Like, why would anyone be targeting New Jersey specifically? Like, that's where I'm very, very lost in this whole story. What do they want?
Maybe they're just like Amazon deliveries of suntan oil.
Gabagool.
And gabagool and
pick your it. That makes
Jersey
sense.
Cliches. Yeah, just like airdrops, like they would in war zones.
Yeah, they just need it with a tremendous urgency. I mean, that sounds right. That I would buy.
It feels like people are worried, but not too worried. And this is such a huge story for, like, this is reviving local news, at least in New Jersey, and it's national news. They're having hearings about it today. But for some reason, I feel like things are we've been through so much in the last few years. People kind of just are like, I don't know. I don't care. I've got other things going on. I don't care. There's drones flying around everywhere. Do you feel a lack of concern, or should be more concerned?
Well, what I don't understand is these are things people can buy. It's not like these are, strange, like, how would anyone acquire a drone? It's like, you can go out and buy 50 drones and you can fly them around if you want to. Like, why do we think this is, there used to be in the PC Richards parking lot across from my old apartment, every Thursday night at midnight, all these dudes who drove Volkswagens would show up in a parking lot together and hang out. Like, that's literally, they would just show up and like show off their Volkswagens to each other. Why isn't it possible that it's just it's like a drone club and it's just a bunch of people getting together to fly drones? And I don't know.
Christian, are you leading a drone club? Is that what you're trying not to tell us?
I'm trying to pitch you on Drone Club.
I mean,
I know interested. The first rule of Drone Club is to constantly talk about Drone Club. And
the first rule of this drone club would have to be that you're not talking about it, because we would know about it if it were a group of people. If it were any loosely organized,
would you want people to know you were part of drone club, or would you just be like, oh shit? Like,
that goes at the bottom of the Hinge profile. I imagine.
That's right.
In these special skills.
That's like third date. Maybe we start to like, oh, there's some stuff I haven't told you yet.
I am in a drone club, and I've also murdered 5 people. And
well,
oh my God,
I mean, put that one up front.
No need to be so judgmental. What would being in a drone club signify other than, hey, maybe I'm a real estate agent. This is how I show my properties. What other thing does flying drones around say about you?
I think it makes a certain type of guy feel like they're in like secret ops or black ops or something.
Okay.
I think that there's people who've watched a lot of Mission Impossible type movies or whatever, and they have fantasies about, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't imagine. I did buy a drone for a friend of
Oh.
mine for Christmas like 5 years ago. And it was not, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's the kind of person who I thought might enjoy a drone. Wasn't like a
So I took my 13-year-old wanted to do paintball for his birthday. So we found like a paintball place around here, and we went, and everyone there had like these big trucks, and they were decked out, and they had tactical gear. It was all like dudes between 18 and 30. Like they were in it. This is what they do, and they were incredibly serious. And it had that whole like, okay, this is, you think that you're preparing for the end times, and I feel like Drone Club is for that same dude, but who like doesn't want to run around, like just like a different version of that same
That's
dude.
so true. And I'm from Massachusetts, and a few years ago I went back for Christmas, and my stepbrother, the guy who I bought the drone for, former stepbrother, he lives in Lunenburg, which is like Western Mass. It's kind of in the middle of fucking nowhere, and there is a remote control car place you can go.
Sure.
And they have like cars that are this big and cars that are this big, and outside they have like an outdoor track where you can stand with the remote and drive it around. And it's a very dude, like there's not even the whiff of a woman having been there for at least a year or two. And I thought to myself, this is where those dude energies go with when you live in a state with sensible gun control. Like these are all the people that would have been at the gun store and getting into the ARs and all that stuff.
The gun club.
Yeah, but they can't do that. So it's funneled into remote controlled cars, which to me is a very healthy place for that energy to go. And so maybe drones.
Someone walks into my kid's elementary school with a bunch of remote controlled cars being like, everybody watch it. Like I feel a little bit better about that,
Yeah,
I'm down. Yeah.
I bought my brother a little drone, and I brought it up to his place in the middle of nowhere in the Catskills. I think I may have told you both about this, but I unboxed it. I have no patience or self-control, and I flew it, and it immediately flew away. We never saw it again. He never even touched it.
The drone escaped. So that's what's happening in New Jersey. It's a bunch of drones who are like, no, I don't want to hang out with this dude. And then they're gathering. Yeah, they're sentient.
The controller has a button on it. It's like an emergency button, like return. Like no matter what, you press this button, it will come back to you. Not this one. He never even saw it. He just looked at me. He's like, "What's wrong with you?" All right, we'll move on.
This is like Wild Robots in the Sky. Go on.
Clearly, neither of you are too concerned about these drones, and just have a lot
in a hierarchy of things to be concerned about. It's just like it's down at the bottom of the CVS receipt of things to be panicked about.
Well, here's something to be panicked about. Donald Trump's going to be president again. That is the time we're living in. How do you both feel about people who say this is the timeline we're in? Because as hokey and cliche and hacky as it seems, I like it. Maura?
So you're all in on like a multiverse theory. Is that just because you like in your head you go, oh, I can imagine another timeline where I have hair and like I'm happy.
Oh wow!
Oh,
yes,
brutal,
I know that was rough.
Brutal.
I know,
just rough.
I had to.
That's terrible.
I can.
Excuse me one second.
I want to tell you what you have in that timeline. Oh God!
I know what I have in that timeline. Trust me, it's amazing. It sounds wonderful, but
health policy.
I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with it. Whatever. It's just like a cliched thing to say, right? Like, who cares?
Okay.
I mean, the timeline thing, I mean, obviously, I think it still probably feels fresh to you because you probably are not the kind of person who sees every dumb Marvel movie. And
I do.
You do? Oh, really?
Well, I'm using it just as like, this is the one that we got. This is the lane that we're in, traveling through, where in this case, Donald Trump is president again. Like, what are the odds that he was president first time, much less was out for 4 years and then got reelected? Either way, he appeared at Wall Street on yesterday, to ring the bell in celebration of being named Times Person of the Year, guys, again. And while he's giving a speech at the event, he mused about the more benevolent coverage that he's been receiving, which I don't know if you guys agree with that or not. But after thanking Time for the honor, he said, the media has been tamed down a little bit. They like us much better now, I think. And if they don't, we'll just have to take them on again. And we don't want to have to do that. What is your reaction to his statement? I kind of agree with him that the quote media has been tamed down a bit, but I think we're talking about the kind of corporate mainstream MSNBC, maybe CNN, maybe New York Times. What do you make of that statement, Maura?
Wait, you don't think that Trump is looking into democracy now? You don't think he's
He and Cap, they're gonna pull it all back together,
No, I don't like that Goodman. What's her name? Ames, whatever. I'm not a fan.
Anyway, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Well, I mean, what does he mean? Well, first of all, he's person of the year. I guess that doesn't matter. They name bad people, but he certainly
does he mean? Like all the all the media execs are giving money to his inauguration. They shut down any endorsements of his opponent. I mean, yeah, sure, they're on his side. The only thing I would say is that they've literally always been. The imagined, oh, they're against us thing that created that, he was using to feed his followers to further this idea of a culture war and to push his own media buddies more, into the spotlight and boost their viewership. Okay, well, that's done with now, but the media was never against him. The mainstream media always enjoyed him.
Hold on.
The mainstream media is against him in the sense that the Washington Generals are against the Harlem Globetrotters.
There you go. That's right. That is perfect.
Well, they're still playing with them.
Both of you cynics, which is, let's just take MSNBC. They've been entirely against him from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. for years.
Okay. Until now. I mean, not if you watch Morning Joe.
Okay, so Morning Joe went, and I'm not giving them a pass ever. They're horrible in all the ways, don't get me wrong, but overwhelmingly that network has had him front and center with all of his legal issues. How many legal commentators are super famous YouTubers now? I mean, they have launched the careers of a lot of people just criticizing, looking at Trump's legal issues.
Okay,
which again is part of being for him.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah.
I mean, that's exactly it. So, I mean, look, at any particular issue that gets shown, there's 100 other issues that are being chosen not to be shown, right? So by constantly keeping a spotlight on Trump for whatever sort of things and not putting forth a tremendous spotlight on important, real alternatives, policies, things Dems are doing that are, that could be good, or spotlighting other ideas. There's so many things that could be left out, and instead just being the Washington Generals of media, of being no, we hate him, rah, 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 is still fully just putting the focus entirely on him. Yeah, it's not helpful.
No, and also, that it's there's these perverse incentives at play. Is that we live in this economy that says only attention matters. And that's the only thing, is eyeballs, eyeballs, eyeballs. And so you then have these people who are, fashioned as the quote unquote resistance, but they're still kind of like barnacles on the hull of the good ship Trump. Do you know what I mean? That it's and it's not to fault any person, but it's just if your career depends on getting eyeballs and attention, how can you not spend the lion's share of your time talking about this asshole? It's what I refer to as the JL Calvan conundrum. It's that I'm joking. Are you there, Pete?
Yeah, no, I'm trying to.
I'm sorry. I no, but I'm just saying it's I always I felt when Trump got reelected, I thought of JL, and I thought oh God, this has got to be such a hand grenade,
because he does the best impression of him in the world.
But at the same time, it's oh, great. My path to a career is to somehow buttress this disgusting thing. And I hope that doesn't come across as a slam on JL, because it's absolutely not. But it's I thought of him. I was oh man, this is really got to be kind of shitty for him. And anybody, because we kind of hope that oh, we're going to turn the page on this and move on to a different world. And now we're back in it.
How, for both of you then, how should Trump 2 be covered by any media outlet or source? And let's give it, some sympathy to people who cover him critically. They are concerned with some basis that they then could be targeted by his Justice Department, or if not targeted legally, that he will make life more difficult for his critics if his sycophants weren't. I mean, I was just on CNN being lightly critical and got threats to my home and family for like a week just because I was lightly critical. You used to be able to say almost anything you wanted about people in power, and it would give you credibility, but now it puts you in harm's way. So there is something to be said for being critical of him just from his crazy people, threatening you, whether serious or not, much less if you're a serious journalist being targeted in different ways. Do you have any thoughts about how we're supposed to cover him again with this kind of power, Maura?
Well, I think journalism is not the only place where people are worried about being targeted. It's certainly one place that's very visible. But I mean, I work in a political infrastructure where I'm working for organizations that are trying to put forth policies that are, they might even be bipartisan. And I don't work for democratic institutions, but I work for institutions that put forth progressive policies, which are more generally viewed as being left, right? So these organizations are worried about being targeted. Individuals who work for these organizations have been targeted and worry about being targeted. I've certainly get emails because I exist on a website as working for tax fairness that I get unhinged emails, and it's only going to increase, and we know that. So, I mean, should it be that way? Of course not. But can you in good faith continue in a position if your response is, well, then I should change? Then what I should do is I should shift. I should placate. I should buy the influence. I should, you know what? Oh, there's a lot of billionaires that he's put in office. Maybe we shouldn't be talking about taxing billionaires because that's just going to draw the ire. If that's how I feel, I need to get out of this job. And I would feel the same way for journalists. If they feel like, oh gosh, this is going to draw more attention, that's a fair way to feel. Change professions. Do something else. It's okay if that's how you feel.
My job in this case as a journalist or working in an organization, if I can't do my job, perform my responsibilities in good conscience in the way that I think I need to, which is in this case to be critical of people in power. If I can't do that, then maybe I shouldn't be in this job, and maybe I should open an Etsy account, which I imagine you would do.
Well, that's all me. I make hats really that's all I do. I don't. Anyway. No, I mean, and I'm certainly not saying hey, if you can't fucking take it, get out. There are ways to work from within your profession to try and change and create more protections within your profession, but it should not be that you are changing your moral imperative, that you are okay, well now I'm gonna do this less, or I'm gonna be he's not so bad. That can't be the case.
Well, and also so much of the Trump base, the phenomenon is based on sort of projecting victimization while victimizing. Is we are the victims, and therefore you have forced our hand, and we must. And now that they've won, it's the goalpost has to move then to well, I have to feel victimized by you insulting Trump. It's not even just that you won't let him be president anymore. Now, how dare you? How dare you insult Trump? I am personally offended by that, and therefore I must attack you.
Right.
And I mean, the answer to that is never to what's the word? What they always say about Neville Chamberlain. Appeasement. Yep. The answer is never to appease that, because the goalposts will just move again. It's the goalpost will then move how dare you refuse to wear a MAGA hat on Trump Day? You know what I mean? And so you Trump have Day. To, try. That's the future holiday, which will replace Martin Luther King's birthday.
Before we've been talking mostly about
it is this year. It's Inauguration Day. It's the same day as MLK Jr. Day. It's real unfortunate.
God, I didn't even think about that.
Will there be an effort to rename Martin, or remove it as a federal holiday, MLK Day? So let's move it on from how he should be covered, or they should be covered. In the chat, Jeffrey Holder says, can you just cover just the executive branch? That's interesting. Have an outlet cover the executive branch and kind of have places for everything that's happening that day and then being said. But I want to just ask you real quick about the transition. You're paying attention either loosely or a lot to the names that have been mentioned, including Kash Patel for FBI, including Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon. But I thought maybe, I don't know, any of those, but RFK Jr. still seems to be the most interesting. It is going to be must-watch TV, the confirmation hearings, because the things that these men have said and done on the record are fucking crazy and criminal, or just really scandalous and controversial. So those hearings are going to be, I think, fascinating and important. Maybe that's what they want. Maybe they shouldn't be. But any thoughts on any of these appointments, or what it's all going to look like when it's said and done? Because I know I've spent a lot of time speculating on some guy that might not even make it to his hearing.
What are you threatening? Sorry. I was hoping, I don't know, maybe you wanted to change careers, Pete. I don't know.
I can just say that, I was rather disheartened that Schumer was reelected unanimously as the head of the Senate Dems. Nothing against him per se, but it's just like, is this the guy you want really being the general at this point? Because what I fear is that Democrats will make that calculation that they often do, that, well, they're going to get confirmed anyway, so why make a big stink about it? Like, I worry that these confirmation hearings will not be as robust as they would be if the situation was reversed, because they'll just be like, you know what, we're just going to piss people off more. We want to project bipartisanship, and so we're going to pick our battles. They'll clever themselves into oblivion.
So Chuck Schumer has now been reelected by his fellow senators to lead the Democrats in the Senate. They're the minority there. You don't like it because he's in charge of all these hearings and everything that was going to be confirming the Senate confirmation process.
Well, just the fact that it was unanimous tells me that there's not any sort of sense of urgency to change tactics or course. Like the fact that it was unanimous, really, and there was no debate about it. There was no, that really was like that. That tells me that they're not going to fight as hard as I'd like them to.
I'll be honest with you. Your anti-Schumer take sounds a little bit anti-Semitic. Maura, you're Jewish. What do you think of Christian? Do you sense a little bit of anti-Semitism as his criticism of Chuck Schumer there?
I think that Chuck Schumer should probably retire and just hand it over to somebody else immediately. I think Christian is being a very good Jew right now. Just bringing you into the fold.
Good Jew is always a great.
There are so many more.
You can come over for latkes. It's all right.
I'm named after a very prominent Jew, so
that's true. That's absolutely right.
All right, let's move on to the final story, which is people's obsession, including both of you, I'm guessing. I know Maura already admitted to it before I hit record.
Super obsessed. Yeah.
With Luigi Mangione and the fact that he killed the leader of one of the most hated companies in America. And then he went on the run and everybody's obsessed with him. And I haven't seen a story get this kind of attention. And I don't know if you have, in a really long time, like sustained everyday. Granted, he was on the run, they caught him, and then manifesto. Have either of you written a manifesto, Christian?
I mean, what is stand-up other than a manifesto for someone who has who aspires to very little and doesn't have the patience or discipline to actually.
Right. Every comedian is kind of writing a manifesto night after night.
Yeah.
Mara,
it's like a manifesto about like Q-tips or airplane peanuts, but it's still a manifesto.
That's true. You're not wrong about it. Mara, what do you think about this? Why are you so obsessed with the story? Do you have a manifesto?
I have really long texts. I think that counts. I have like multiple group chats. If you put those together, that's a full manifesto, and it is not a good one. I am obsessed because I'm so obsessed with the response to it in general. And also, I mean, it's fascinating. Like we usually as a country get real excited when like someone takes out a terrorist who's killed a lot of people. So like, this to me just continues on that normal sort of path. We like to like hold those people up and go like, good job. You took out a bad guy. And that's this. I mean, we're talking about one guy killed a mass murderer. Like, I don't know.
Bonnie and Clyde killed people. I mean, it's like, this is not a new phenomenon. The only thing new is just sort of cauldron of discourse provided by social media. But the idea of like, especially in times when times are tough, the idea that like a robber baron gets it, is not a new phenomenon that people would find joy out of that.
what are the other, takeaways of this? Do you think there's going to be a serious conversation about health policy or reform in this next administration, much less as a result of this killing?
There'll be some. I mean, there was. I don't remember which company it was, but some company just forgave debt for like 1,500 people, and their people were saying it's like, well, gee, big coincidence that they were going after these people for hundreds of thousands of dollars. I don't remember which company it was. It was one of the name brand ones that but I don't know. I as I've said before, I think I said last time we talked, and I always feel like a bit of a stick in the mud is I do worry a little bit. Just there are a lot of people in this country who would love to lift the social moratorium on assassinations, and most of them are not our friends. And I worry about entering into a piece of shit contest with these people, because I think that at a certain point the liberal gag reflex would kick in, and I don't feel confident that it would kick in as quickly on the other side. So
I don't have a lot of fear of that. This excitement is like kicking that off. I don't feel as though that's the case. I mean, I think it's very, very easy then to say like, oh, you have, whatever, murdered your wife or whatever. You're a bad guy. Like, I think we still have all of that in place. And
we do.
Yeah. Well, who's not we? You think that,
well,
like the right already is there. They were already there.
Yeah, sure. But what if one of these Matt Walsh or Ben Shapiro fans online says, you know what? They killed a CEO. I'm going to go kill Ibram X Kendi. I'm sorry,
yeah, I mean,
the most woke person you can. I'll call it. I'm going to go murder a women's studies professor. And who's going to be more in danger after that point? CEOs or women's studies professors? Like, that's sort of how I'm
actually
there. If you think that there's like if you think it's actually there are two sides and they are at war against each other, and this is like some sort of escalation, I don't actually see it that way. And I think that what's interesting about this CEO death is I do think I have seen, at least more than ever, a united front of like no war but class war mentality.
Yeah.
I mean, I've seen multiple people say, hey, I have bragged on Trump supporters forever. I have said some nasty shit about Republicans, but if you tell me you're in this with me and it's us against the billionaires, then I'm in it with you against the billionaires. Like I think there's an opportunity for a little bit of awakening of realignment of who is the enemy. And I think that some of that is breaking through. And I think that's incredibly important. And I don't think we've seen this opportunity occur for that kind of alignment yet.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do worry though at what cost and at who's who gets thrown over the
it sounds like morally
to create what I'm hearing, unity.
Mm-hmm.
But
what I'm hearing from both of you, it seems like Christian is actually a better person. It seems
100%. Like there's
I'm so
we
glad
all
you
agree
picked
on
up
that.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm on board.
It seems like if the purge were a suggestion, Christian would be like, I don't know, and Maura would be like, when and where.
No, and I think that's where Christian's coming from, because he knows he's a better person, which puts him more at risk, frankly. If the three of us turn right now, obviously.
I guess it's not so much, it's the ambivalence. I am racked with ambivalence in a way that I worry other people are not. And that I am constantly, I'm the kind of person who would lose a fist fight because I would be like, all right, now I'm going to hit him with the left and then hit him with the right. And then I'd get like punched in the face and it'd be over, because I'd be trying to like plan it out and sort of navigate it. Whereas I think some people are just like, oh, we're fighting, so it's not so much better as I just know my indecisiveness.
Yeah. And Maura just breaks a glass and stabs you.
Yeah. She just throws the Molotov through
and then steps on it.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many things I'm doing. I'm very busy. But I appreciate all of your confidence in me. I really do.
final question topic was this week. It was crazy week in news, 2 weeks really internationally. If you think about it, what happened in Syria is fascinating and really important. There'll be reverberations around the world for that. People should care. It's crazy to see things be uncovered and to see Assad have to leave his country and his palaces. My cheapest take, my least important take is I just, for one time in my life, I want to live in a country where the autocratic dictator either gets hung or gets forced out, and that I get to be one of the people that run into his palace to loot it and to find all these sports cars and gold bars and rare paintings and whatever else. That seems like a lot of fun. And my question to you is, would you want to do that at some point? Would you want to loot a bad person's palace? And if someone were to loot your place, what would be the most interesting thing we would get if I ran in and ransacked your house, Maura? What would I take? What would be most interesting?
In my house? It is not an exciting house. I do have some shredded cheddar cheese though. Like, I mean, I've got that ready to go.
So you see like rebels throwing your shredded cheese on the floor and stomping on it. Like you always see that.
I see it like throwing up in the air, like it's snowing with their tongues out, kind of thing. I mean,
it might be a house like teenage boy's dream filled with snacks, like the cupboard. There's just a bunch of.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, like I do get my house raided regularly, and that is what they go for. Right. They're not storming out with like my decorative throw pillow. Like,
and then they'd be like, "See her hoarding all these Lunchables when the people are going starving." Like
they haven't
roll-ups could be for everyone.
The case of juice boxes, but the moment that happens, it's over for me.
No, yeah.
That's exactly what we'd expect to get at Maura's house. Were you paying attention to the story, guys? Are you?
Did Luigi Mangione take him out? Because if not, no, I know nothing about it.
I mean,
how prolific was that guy?
It is nice. First of all, I am a subway ride away from Trump Tower. So if you want to talk about a place like literally going through Trump Tower and like, lifting up cold gold-plated sex toys or whatever would feel like I was, like breaking into Saddam's palace. I do, again, it is my nature to be like, yeah, but this could go bad. I just look at what happened with Egypt, is that when a vacuum is created, we always want to think it's going to be the students and intellectuals who control things, and it tends to not be. And so, I mean, it's a good thing. It's a wonderful thing, but I hope it doesn't.
They always take down the statues right away. In this case, they couldn't get one of them down. They just put a bucket on the statue of Assad's head. But luckily, I don't think there's any Trump statues yet. And if there were, I think America's still the kind of place that would immediately, like, we don't build statues, I feel like, of living people or even people who've just, you know what? The Michael Jordan statue outside the United Center is all I can think of.
The Rocky statue in Philly.
All right.
I mean, that is a fictional character. Does that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just making sure we all knew that. I don't know.
If there were a Trump statue, it would get ransacked immediately. Is all I'm saying.
It would be. I think even Trump is smart enough to not like to know that would be covered with dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, someone spray painted his star on the Hollywood Boulevard in like 2016.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's a good point. All right. Well, we did it. We wrapped up the week. This was a fun experiment. Thank you for joining me live. Thank you, everybody, commenting. Real quick, Uncrustables is a very controversial snack in our community. You have teens, you have boys, and Maura, what are your feelings on Uncrustables? And Christian, do you know what they are?
I am assuming that it's impossible to put a crust on these things.
Science keeps trying.
It's
absolutely foiled.
It's a processed like PBJ with no crust, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're ready to go in like a convenience store. And I think that they serve a market that needs them. And I'm very happy that they exist for people. And I think they're disgusting.
Thank you both very much. Good stuff. Appreciate you. Ending stream. Thanks, everybody.